And with me today, I have Tannaz Hosseinpour, who's a certified life coach, a CBT and NLP practitioner, and breathwork coach specializing in personal development, relationships, and conscious manifestation. With an academic background in family mediation and dispute resolution law, she's currently pursuing a postgraduate in counseling psychology. And as the founder and host of the Minutes on Growth podcast, Tanaz provides listeners with insightful strategies to achieve inner healing, spiritual growth, and personal purpose. Through her platform, Tanaz emphasizes the importance of mind, body, and spirit cohesion in attaining optimal well-being and transformation. Her work delves into topics such as the nervous system regulation, authentic self-expression, and building healthier relationships. And beyond her podcast, she's a CEO and founder of TP Education Consultants, aiding students worldwide in reaching their academic goals. And her upcoming book, which is Shifting a Reality, encapsulates over 15 years of research and insights aimed at guiding individuals towards a life aligned with their deepest desires. Welcome to the show, Tanaz. That is a very impressive bio, I must say.
Thank you so much, Anna. It's a pleasure to be here, and that was quite a lot.
You have done a lot. Yes. So, Tanaz, tell us about yourself. So, what made you go on this amazing journey that you're on today?
Well, I really believe in the saying that man plans, God laughs. And so the goal always was to be a lawyer. That's what was socially conditioned into me. And right after I finished law, I realized it really wasn't aligned with me energetically. It felt like a push. It felt like there was this resistance that I couldn't pretty much like put my finger on, but it didn't feel like me. Even though I was great at memorizing, I was great at public speaking, but my soul wasn't into it. And so I really took a pause and asked myself, like, if I could be doing anything in the world, what would it be? What am I supposed to do? What is my purpose? Universe, show me, help me, guide me.
Mm.
And I was running a book club at that time. There was a lovely girl that was part of the book club, and she said, "Have you heard of coaching?" I said, "I have no idea what that means." And I started to research it. I'm the type of person, if you bring me an idea, I will take it as a sign that the universe wants to speak to me through you. So I won't take anything lightly. It was also during that time that someone said you should start a podcast. This is 2017. I had no idea what a podcast was, but I started to look into it. And it was, at the same time that I realized, okay, let me go pursue coaching. I did. I specialized. I wanted to niche down on relationships because I was on the other side. I was on the reactive side of relationships, and I wanted to be on the proactive side. I wanted to realize why people were going from "I love you so much till death do us part" to kind of now fighting over who gets like a $20 plate. And so that distance between those 2 points had this big question mark for me. And I realized that, okay, one of the main reasons is that we don't have access to relational skills that cultivate healthy relationships. We're not taught them in school. And that kind of became the foundation of my podcast, kind of sharing these relational skills, sharing spiritual insights that I've been practicing and studying since, I was a teenager. And that kind of grew over the years. And 3 years ago, I decided I needed more tools to help my clients because in order to have a healthy relationship, 50% is the inner work, 50% is relational skills. I can teach you all the skills in the world, but if you're not in a state of ease with yourself, of acceptance with yourself, of compassion with yourself, you're missing half the equation. And yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here. It's really trying to help people build, cultivate healthier relationships with themselves, but not from a place of shame, judgment, and blame, but from a place of compassion, softness, grace, and ease.
Oh, I love that. Yes. And healthy relationships is the thing which shapes our world because we're just destined to obviously be with somebody. And I know that there's a lot of single people out there who enjoy being single, but I just feel it's just Mother Nature to actually find somebody to spend your life with, right? To grow old with. So on that note, we know that building healthy relationships is actually a core theme in your work. So, what essential skills do you believe are necessary for fostering secure platonic relationships?
Mm, I love that. And just before I answer that, there one of Harvard's studies, 75-year-long study, looking at over 700 people, showed that the quality of the way we experience life is, and the quality of our physical health and our mental health, the number one factor that influences that isn't genetics, isn't nutrition, isn't sleep, but it's actually the quality of our relationships. And we are naturally tribal people. We thrive in supportive communities. So when we're talking about relationships, we're not only talking about the romantic ones, but the platonic ones, the safe sisterhood, the safe brotherhood, neighborly, at work. We spend so much of our time at work. So cultivating healthier relationships there. So just wanted to kind of, expand the definition of relationship to kind of cover all those areas so that we can all feel safe in a community where we feel seen, heard, and valued. But to answer your question of what are some important skills, the main one is conflict resolution. How can I learn to fight fair in a way that both parties leave the conversation feeling heard and understood? Because there's so many unhealthy narratives out there that we subconsciously believe in. If we fight with someone, it means they don't love us. If we disagree with someone, it means our perspective isn't as important. Or some of us haven't been taught that I can be mad at you and still love you. And so that kind of disrupts the nervous system. It influences the way we show up, the way we fight, the way we repair. So the number one skill set that I try to teach my clients is let's learn how to fight fair. Let's learn how to speak our needs because no one is a mind reader. We can't expect people to just know. We need to let them know. We need to give them, as Dr. John Gottman beautifully says, and he's the head of the Gottman Institute, the world's leading institute on relationships, is we need to give people a love map.
Mm,
This is how you can love me better. This is how you can show up for me better. So, expressing our needs is really providing people with a blueprint to show up and and be there for us, and vice versa. So, everyone talks about communication, but I really want to even specify it further and say specifically on conflict because research shows us, again, by the Gottman Institute, that more than 69% of relational problems are perpetual, meaning they cannot be solved. They're based on fundamental differences. So the only thing we can do is learn how to navigate conversations around it better. And
mm.
so, really honing in on that skill of conflict resolution becomes the most important one, in my
Wow, I
opinion.
love that. Yeah. So what, because obviously we go on about red flags a lot on this podcast because it's very much linked to toxic relationships. But in terms of healthy relationships and conflict resolution, what would you say is the difference between those conflicts which are sustainable in a relationship and those which are really the red flags and the conflicts that we should kind of like notice and walk away from the relationship as a consequence. So do you have any examples?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a nerd at heart. I always love to bring research into it. And so you'll hear me a lot say research says,
Mm,
but research does show us that there's three types of conflict that really are not advised for you to kind of try to navigate through. It usually means like we're at the end of the road. And again, this is by the Gottman Institute. The first one is if there is characterological abuse. So not when we're talking about domestic abuse, we have two types of abuse. One is it happened once, I lost my temper, I feel so much regret about it. Let me go to anger management. Let me figure it out. That's different. The second one is it's part of my character, meaning I'm always going to blame you for this. It's your fault I hate you. If you had not done that, I wouldn't have, reacted that way. That is a major red flag. So over there, you want to kind of figure out how safe is it for you to leave that relationship. The second one is if there's fundamental differences around wanting children, like these life-changing um, decisions. If one wants a child and one doesn't, that you can't change the other person's mind. If they say no, I don't want kids, take that, accept it, and ask yourself, if I were to stay in this relationship and never become a parent, am I going to be okay with that? Or am I going to hold on to resentment that shows up as passive aggressiveness? And that's just going to, create a negative experience with that relationship forever. And then the third one is if that person is an addict, is dealing with addiction and doesn't want to get help. So we have addicts that, okay, I recognize I'm an addict. I'm willing to get help. And there's an addict of, I don't have a problem. This is not a problem. This is not impacting us. So in these three areas, you really want to thread like cautiously and ask yourself, do I have the support system to want to navigate it? We can't tell people what to do, but you got to really be aware of these three scenarios.
Wow, they're fantastic scenarios. Thank you for sharing those. And yeah, because I was even thinking about my own experiences about having children's side, and I just find that it's so easy for us to just put our needs aside when we meet somebody and just think, oh no, he doesn't want kids. It's fine. I don't want kids either. Whereas all your life you've wanted kids, you know. So we just we just totally put our needs aside, and then you're right, it does come up at a later date. It's bound to, because if that's always been your desire, then just temporarily removing it is not going to solve the problem, is it? So
100%. And it's a big decision, right? It's a forever decision. It's not okay, let's do it. If we change our mind, we can figure out a solution. And that's why it's one of the main three, because um if and these cases do happen if someone kind of says, okay, I'll do it for you, and then the marriage suffers, the
mm,
relationship with that child suffers. And so it's like, we got to be honest with ourselves. What is it that I want? What is a non-negotiable? Because there's always going to be compromise in a relationship.
yeah,
That's just what it is. We're different human beings. We come together with different mindsets, different values, different beliefs. Beautiful. Let's create a space for that, for them to coexist. But certain things are non-negotiable, and you've just got to be honest with yourself. Otherwise, it will show up. You can't suppress it forever.
yeah, absolutely. And so from the work that you've done and the clients that you've seen, do you notice a correlation or any patterns with those who have suffered from trauma um and their inability to form healthy relationships?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whether it's big T or small t, they do influence our relationships because of how trauma impacts the brain.
Mm,
So let's just talk about that and try to simplify it. So if we're looking at the brain and for trauma survivors, certain things change. So one, trauma activates the brain's fear center, so the amygdala. And so by doing that, our body is constantly put in this survival mode, this fight or flight response. So even the small non-threatening events, they start to trigger these huge emotional responses. So maybe you've heard, "Oh my God, you're too much. What are you doing? Like, why are you being so weird?" But it's just your body's response, and that's why an integrative approach is always best of mind, body, and soul. And thankfully, we have so much new evidence showing us how trauma is stored in the body. So it's not just a woo-woo concept now. There's a whole field, and now we have somatic practices coming to the surface. We have somatic experiencing and so many other modalities that include the body in the healing process. So that's the amygdala, which kind of gets us stuck in that survival mode, the fight, flight, or freeze response. Then we have how trauma hijacks our memory processing. So the part of our brain that helps us understand time and memory, that part gets impacted. So now a memory is being triggered, and the body starts to think it's happening now,
Yeah.
not in the past. So it starts to relive that whole experience. And I'll give you an example of maybe you've experienced abuse with someone who wears a certain scent. Let's say Dior Sauvage, because there's always memes and reels about that one. And fast forward 10 years, you go into a meeting and
Yeah.
someone is there and they're wearing the same scent.
Eat.
Body will start to think it's that same person and starts to experience that same response. It's not that person, it's the memory of that scent.
Mm.
So, that again, it influences us. Another way trauma influences the brain is the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for logic, for decision making, for impulse control. So when that goes off, it goes offline during trauma, it weakens that function. Guess what? Now I'm going to have a harder time regulating my emotions, focusing, problem solving, and all of these dysregulate the nervous system. So now I'm either going to be in hypervigilance, so I'm always on edge, or this numbness, this hypoarousal. So I'm numb, this disassociated feeling.
Mm.
So that's also we get stuck in this dysregulated state.
Wow. So, in terms of the work that you do then to have, actually reset the nervous system and to, to just make your client feel a bit more safer. So, what kind of techniques do you normally do with them?
Mm. Great question. So the first is actually building a safe therapeutic alliance. So they've done research to see what modality is best when we're working with clients, which is most effective. And they found it's the therapeutic alliance. It's the feeling of safety and connection and trust that you have with that mental health professional. So the first step is how can I make this person feel safe enough to trust me to bring down their walls? Then, after we've built that relationship, okay, there's two aspects. One is the cognitive, one is the somatic. I want them to understand the why. So we look into, let's say, the psychodynamic approach, the attachment theory. We look into childhood dynamics. Then we look into cognitive, their belief system, the meaning making that they've created of experiences. So we kind of cover the cognitive. Simultaneously, we start to bring in nervous system regulation. So what does that look like? That looks like creating a toolbox for them, specialized for them, that they can reach out to bring the baseline of the to change the baseline of the nervous system. So let me explain this further. If you are accustomed to chaos, you were raised in a family that there was a lot of chaos, there was a lot of tumultuous activities happening.
Mm.
This is what this is what the nervous system would look like, a very like roller coaster like experience. And so, when you do meet, let's say, someone with a secure attachment who is a healthy relationship, that relationship is going to feel boring for you
Yeah.
because it's not like that. And so, that's your baseline. The baseline is severe high, low, high, low, high, low. So, we
Mm.
slowly start to change that baseline to a more subtle experience and ultimately to like a more flatter experience, a line versus these severe highs and lows. And we do that through breath work, we do that through meditation, through grounding, through visualization. Sometimes we do simpler stuff like we activate the vagus nerve through doing R's with our tongue, rubbing ice cubes on our wrist, on the back of our neck, humming, singing. We can bring in art therapy. We can bring in mindfulness, just kind of holding a warm cup of tea. Tell me what that feels like. Bring in your sensations. Is it warm? How does it feel on your fingers? What do you smell? What do you see? We will start with the simplest tools to add to their toolbox because we don't want to overwhelm them. We don't want to say, let's do a 30-minute meditation to someone who's extremely dysregulated. Maybe it's, let's just go for a walk, as simple as that. And slowly, slowly, slowly expanding that window of tolerance so that they can um, have more experiences of regulated uh, nervous system.
Lovely. Oh, wow. Yeah, really. They're very, very easy techniques and ones that everyone can apply. So I just think, yeah, that's amazing. So thank you for sharing those as well. Yeah, this is like a bit of an insight into your toolkit. So amazing. So I know that you also have explored this six different types of intimacy. And I know, again, intimacy is very much linked to trauma because it's the inability to, be fully intimate because again, it's when you're intimate, you have to be vulnerable and it's hard as survivors to be vulnerable. So what's your takes on that then? And also could you elaborate on the types of intimacy? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing that because you're absolutely right. Vulnerability can be difficult because for trauma survivors, because vulnerability equates to danger, and the brain is created for survival, and it will do whatever it can to keep you safe, even if that means isolating you from everyone else. But we also know that we hurt in relationships, but we can also heal in safe, secure relationships. We can't heal in isolation. So when we're talking about intimacy, we often think intimacy is physical and sexual. And I want to expand that definition to include um, different types of intimacy as well. So, the approach that I take is six intimacy tanks. What are they? They're the physical. So, that's the non sexual touch, hugging, holding hands. You can have physical intimacy with your friends, with your family, with your siblings, with your coworkers, whoever feels physically safe for you. And again, it could be something as, holding pinky fingers, if, holding hands feels like too much. Then we have sexual intimacy. And so, consensual sexual intimacy in monogamous relationships, it's just going to be one person, but in polyamorous relationships, there might be more people filling that tank for you. Then we have emotional intimacy. Emotional intimacy is people you feel safe with, expressing your emotions, talking about your feelings without this fear of judgment, without this fear of um, uh, being shamed for those feelings. So you could, again, have that with your partner, but you could also have that with friends, with siblings, with even strangers on the internet.
Mhm.
Sometimes we make like these friendships online, and then you just suddenly feel safe enough to talk to them about your emotions. So online friends, the pandemic kind of opened that up for us to have all these online friends all around the world. Then we have intellectual intimacy. Intellectual intimacy is intimacy that is stimulating conversation, stimulates your brain. So, conversations about topics of interest, history, politics, psychology, podcasts, really, when podcasts are a form of intellectual intimacy because it's intellectually stimulating us, depending on the type of podcast you listen to, but most of them are intellectually stimulating. And then we have experiential intimacy. So, intimacy is intimacy where we can experience different things with. For example, going to the movies, traveling, trying out different classes, restaurants together. And, sometimes some of our friends will only fill that tank for us. They are our experiential friends. And that's beautiful too, because with every tank, you want to have different people filling it. And the reason I'll mention the last one and I'll go into it. And the last one is spiritual intimacy. So, intimacy around your spiritual beliefs, but also, and it could be religious beliefs, religious activities, but also belief systems. So,
Mm.
people that you can discuss your values, your beliefs, could be going to meditation together, doing yoga together, going to church together, talking about different philosophies together. So, these six intimacy tanks, the purpose of them is to remove the pressure from one person to be our everything. So now, Dr. Esther Perel talks a lot about this of now we've reached a point in life where we expect our partner to be our partner, our best friend, our confidant, our travel buddy, everything, everything.
Love.
And it can feel overwhelming. Um, for me, the idea of being something for someone all the time,
Yeah.
it dysregulates me. And it's a similar experience for other people too. So what we want to do is we want to sit down and say, okay, I have these six intimacy tanks. Let me take inventory of the people in my life. Who fills which tank? And which tanks do I fill for them? So
Mm.
it really opens us up to giving and receiving and being intentional with our connection. And so, if, for example, for me, my partner fills my emotional and he comes home one day and I can tell that he doesn't have the capacity to emotionally be there for me, I can say, okay, I can get my needs met with my best friend, with my mom, with my brother. And so we want to, again, be very intentional with creating a supportive community for ourselves and being a part of that supportive community for others.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, you've just opened up my mind about intimacy because I suppose myself and many others, we just assume it just means, being intimate with your partner, romantic. So I think that's fantastic. And you're right. It just take a lot of pressure off, just having that one person serve you in that sense. So how can people actually cultivate a deeper sense of intimacy in relationships whilst also maintaining personal boundaries?
Mm. It's a beautiful one. So, how connected am I with self?
Mm,
How in tuned am I with self?
mm,
We we connect with others to the depth that we connect with ourselves. So the first step I would say is how much love are you making to yourself?
mm,
And not in a sexual way, but in an emotional way. How familiar are you with your own needs? If you're like, for example, you wake up and you have this deep desire for ice cream, let's say, will you suppress that or will you have a conversation of, are you craving ice cream? What kind of ice cream? Maybe we should go for a walk and have the ice cream. Building that line of connection with self is
mm,
something I'm just using a simple example of ice cream, but really how honest am I with myself? When we are familiar and we are honest and transparent with self, we can now come and mirror that in our relationship. If I have boundaries with self, I can have boundaries in a relationship. If
mm,
I have boundaries, um, because when it comes to boundaries, Um, the goal is not to isolate. The goal is how can I create a safe space for both of us to lean into the relationship? It
mm,
actually is a form of connection if used correctly. So I want us, this is how I want to be loved. I know that because I know myself. I can't express my boundary to you if I don't know it, if I don't know my own limits. So,
mm,
the better you get to know yourself, the better you can articulate that to someone else. And now, again, boundaries becomes part of that love map that you're giving to your partner of, hey, this is how I want to be loved, but also here are my limits.
mm,
And this is what I will accept, and this is what I won't. Great. Now you give me your love map. Let me know your boundaries. And again, the more you know yourself, your partner knows them, the better they can articulate it to you. So it really is I know it wasn't as practical as a response, but it's as well as the more you know yourself, the better you can be at setting um,
beautiful.
that.
Yeah, because I know you talk about self-expression and authentic expression, so I think that fits it very nicely. So, yeah, thank you. So, let's talk about manifestation. So, as a conscious manifestation coach yourself, what strategies do you actually recommend for clients and people who may be seeking to align their actions with their personal goals?
Mm. So we're always manifesting 24/7, and that's why I always use conscious manifestation. So conscious manifestation is I'm now being intentional with that which is already happening 24/7 because our experience of reality is based on our thoughts, our opinions, our beliefs, and our perceptions. So at every given moment, there's 11 million bits per information coming at us, but the mind is only processing 40 to 50 of them, 40 to 50 of a million, 11 million.
Mm,
What decides what gets filtered and doesn't? It's our belief systems. So our belief systems is really the foundation of our experience of reality. So I like to think of our conscious mind as the iPhone and our subconscious as the iOS. We want to we can't play a game that's not downloaded on the phone. So
mm,
if we want a different experience of reality, we go to the root, we go to the belief systems. So how can we live more in alignment? Well, let me see what is stopping us, what is creating the misalignment. So what is it in my experience of reality that I'm not enjoying, that doesn't feel expansive, that on the opposite feels very limiting? Let me get curious with those thoughts, with those beliefs, perceptions, and opinions. Then let me be curious with them. Again, we don't want to create any form of judgment. Compassion, self compassion really is the number one ingredient to growth. So I am who I am because I've been conditioned by it, by my environment.
mm,
So now that I know better, I can be better, I can do better. So let me get curious with that belief. Where did it come from? How has it served me? And this is the part that sometimes people are like, it doesn't serve me. Yeah, it doesn't serve you now, but at some point it has protected you. And that's why you've held on to it. But now you've reached a point where it's starting to create friction, hence why you're asking these questions. So, thank you for protecting me, even though you did it in a misaligned way, but you still protected me from feeling maybe pain, from hurt, from disappointment, to kind of keep me safe. Again, the brain's job is to keep us safe.
mm,
So, we think it, and now what can I replace it with? Can I replace it with something more empowering, more expansive? And we embed that into the subconscious mind through hypnosis, through visualization, through repetition of affirmations and kind of embodying it. So, this person that has this empowering, expansive belief, how do they show up? How do they think? How do they see? How do they act? How do they talk? And we embody that future version, which then allows us to time lapse between the future and the present moment. So, we're going into the future, we're taking that version, bringing it into the now, embodying it, and taking inspired action from there. I always say there's no attraction without action. The word action is literally an attraction. So you need to be a conscious driver in this process. You are co-creator with the universe. You take a step, the universe takes five for you. But because of the concept of free will, you cannot expect the universe to do anything unless you take the first step. The
mm.
universe will respect your free will. So we take a step from that place of embodied alignment, and that's when the new path kind of illuminates in front of us.
Beautiful. Wow. What a fantastic way to describe it. Because again, as you know, there's a lot of skepticism around manifestation practices. But I think you've just really described the way that it should be done. And like you said, it's about embodying it. It's about really putting yourself where you want to be and then let the journey unfold.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, in my book, Shifting Reality, I dive into the science of it because exactly this is that there's so many skeptics. So I kind of explain how are like confirmation bias. Like when the mind will look for evidence of those beliefs,
Mm,
even if it's a limiting belief. But that's just the way the mind is created to kind of, again, keep us safe.
yeah.
So all of that is there. But also, part of conscious manifestation is clearing the vessel for light to flow through us. And we do that through feeling our feelings. So I always say, visualize your body as a vessel, and every emotion is a messenger. Every emotion has a purpose. Anger, for example, might be a signal that our boundaries are being violated. So like even anger that has such a bad rep has a purpose to it. So if we allow our body to process emotions, for emotion to arise, to be processed, and to subside. And so we want to clear the inside. We can't consciously manifest from a place of chaotic energy.
Mm,
It needs to be, uh, we need to have this cylinder, like visualize yourself as a cylinder where everything can flow through you with ease, that light can flow through you with ease. And that's where, for example, the importance of eating healthy, sleep, water, all of these play a role. It is a multi-system process. It's not only think positive thoughts, but
mm,
also this body, this vessel plays a role in it too. Nervous system regulation plays a role in it too. Chakra energy system alignment plays a role in it too. Um, if we look at it from that full integrated holistic approach,
mm.
maybe some of that skepticism will subside.
I think so. I think so, definitely. And so let's talk about your upcoming book, Shifting Reality. So that delves into transforming one's life. Can you share a sneak peek into the core principles discussed in the book, or is that going to be left for readers of the book?
No, I share everything. If you go on my social media, I everything. I'm all about over delivering value because none of the concepts I share belong to me. And I'll explain that. Meaning, I am simply a medium through which this information flows through me and I share it. And then I don't hold any belongingness to that work. I am simply the universe is flowing through me. It's not mine.
Yeah.
So anything that I get as a download, I share and I tell people, take it, take credit for it even. Put your name on it and sell it. That's totally fine. The goal is to kind of share the information. So I'll share it. In the book, I talk about the 5 steps of conscious manifestation. So the first step is gaining clarity. What is it that I even want? So that was the process of looking at the subconscious mind, the belief systems. What are my desires? Are they the soul's desires or are they the ego's desires? Step 2, ask. So ask it. Ask and you shall receive.
Mm,
So really gaining this part is about gaining the courage to want what is it that you want without shame. So it's about stop playing small.
mm,
Allow yourself to be seen. Allow yourself to be heard. Step 3 is surrender.
mm,
And sounds counterintuitive, but when we surrender, it means that I trust that what I want also wants me. So I don't need to chase it. I trust that at the right time it will come my way.
mm,
All I'm responsible for as part of half my formula is I am responsible for gaining clarity on what it is and showing up. The
mm,
how and the when is the universe's role in this. So when we surrender, we're activating the phenomenon of certainty that everything I want is there for a reason. My desires are there for a reason. Everything is happening for me, never to me. So, exactly as the name of your podcast, from victim to victor,
mm,
happening to me is a victim, happening for me is a victor. It's a mindset shift.
mm,
And so I release attachment, this or better. Because
mm.
our mind is a 3D, it's very our perspective is limited. You
Yeah.
never know. Maybe you're meant for something a gazillion times bigger than that you can't even comprehend right now. So this or better or bigger. And step 4 is taking inspired action. So actually showing up and taking embodied aligned action. I break it down into the different ways you can do that. And every step also has the chakras aligned to it and how to clear those chakra centers, which are those energy centers. So it's the book is really East meets West, mysticism meeting science. And lastly, it's embodiment. Step 5 is embodiment, embodying that version of you that already has it. Because if you have that desire, it means at some metaphysical realm, you already have it. It's just pulling it into the physical realm, into the here and the now. And before that, I dive into what might be so I do like a background on the subconscious, the first couple of chapters, the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, and then lastly, what might stand in the way of it, the obstacles, how to overcome it, and a lot on nervous system regulation, because again, it is the foundation of your relationships, conscious manifestation, pretty much everything nervous system is at the forefront of it.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. And so when is that released?
Oh, that's up to the publishers. We
Oh,
don't know yet. But it's out of my hands. I've surrendered. Whenever it's the right time, it'll show up.
okay. How beautiful. And so where can my listeners keep in contact with you to find out more about, its release day and all the amazing work that you're doing?
Thank you. So I'm on every platform at Minutes on Growth. So Minutes and then ON Growth on Instagram, Facebook. I love creating content. There's a lot of free content on my social medias. I have a free community on Facebook called Abundance and Love. There's like daily reminders there. I have a free ebook, 11 tools for nervous system regulation on my website. So there's a lot of resources. And then, of course, there's the paid resources of master classes and group programs, but everything is on the website. And yeah, feel free to reach out. I love connecting with people. And really, if there's something that I can do to simplify and help um, process a difficult concept, I'm always available.
Beautiful. And so minutes on growth, can you
Yes.
explain what that actually stands for?
Well, when I was starting the podcast in 2017, I was like, okay, I want something short. Like, again, I'm teacher archetype. Like, tell me something, simplify Tannaz for me in like 5 minutes. And so it's like minutes. And so just like kind of, and time is one of our most precious assets, right? So how can we really utilize it to the best of our ability?
Mm.
And on what? What am I spending minutes on? I'm spending it on growing, on evolving, and the goal in life is to enter as person A and to use all of life's ups and downs to help us turn into an evolved person B. So that was the intention behind it.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. There's always a story, isn't there? Wow, Tanaz, I've absolutely loved this conversation. You are just full of knowledge, wisdom, and inspiration. I just think it's amazing, everything that you've learned and just how you deliver it. It's so it's like you really break it down into everyday talks so that people can really understand and digest it. So yeah, fantastic. And congratulations as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for asking all the beautiful questions and for creating this space. I know you cover a lot of trauma work, and I really want to thank you for that because it really is a topic that wasn't given much attention up until, very recently. So, really, it creates a space for people to feel validated, to feel seen and understood. And I don't think there's anything more beautiful than that. So, thank you so much.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. I love that. So, my listeners, I hope you enjoyed this show as much as myself and Tanaz did. I know I sure did. And again, thank you so much for coming on, Tanaz, for your time today. And please do get in touch with Tanaz, everybody. Follow her on her socials and listen to her podcasts because I'm sure you will just be absolutely flabbergasted by the amount of knowledge that she shares, all this free knowledge as well, which is fantastic. So until next episode, I look forward to seeing you then. Take care, everybody, and stay blessed.